Good morning, everyone. This is This Week at Lebanon Road. I'm J.D. Buckner. I'm here with Andrew Pate. And this morning, Andrew's going to talk to us about commitment.
Yeah, commitment. First thing we want to start off with would be in Nehemiah. When you think of Nehemiah, the first thing I kind of think of is walls, building up our walls. And when we think of commitment, sometimes our walls can get torn down. And when we tear our walls down, we end up, allowing things in, allowing us to get discouraged, maybe breaking our commitments, kind of thinking of breaking those walls. So today we're kind of just going to look at his story and kind of match up some things that maybe happened in our lives that we can kind of relate to. So if you want to turn to Nehemiah 1 and verse 2, we're just going to start off here. In Nehemiah 1 and 2, we find out that Nehemiah learns of a problem. The problem is that there are people coming into the walls and the walls are broken, and Nehemiah has just learned of this, and that's in 2, 3, and 4 verse 1. Now in chapter 2 we see that in verse 5 and through 8 that he basically drops what he's doing. He drops his job and decides that he's going to go and rebuild these walls.
Cupbearer to the king, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So he basically decides, there's a problem, so I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to go rebuild, or go try to rebuild these walls. And so we see in chapter 2, verse 19, that he is being made fun of for the things that he's doing. How many times in our lives do we get made fun of for the commitments that we have? Maybe it's going to church, maybe it's trying to live a Christian life. You've always got someone, maybe at work, at school, anywhere you go, that's going to say, "Oh, you're a Christian," and so they mock you and make you feel bad and things like that to try to discourage you. And that's what's happening to Nehemiah here. Now, as we turn on to chapter 4, in verse 9, we see that Nehemiah learns of a possible attack. Now, this possible attack that's going to happen, as it reads, "Nevertheless, we made our prayer to our God, and because of them, we set watch against them day and night." And so, when he learns of this attack, he decides, "I'm going to pray to God." And how many times in our lives, maybe things aren't going so well, do we just stop and pray to God? And this is a good guideline to follow. I don't know if JD has anything to add to some of these things that we have in our lives where we just probably should stop and pray to God to help us get past some of these things that are happening.
Well, yeah, I think it's really interesting, especially in our society today. It's becoming more and more peculiar to be a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
It's still commonplace, but I think as time goes on, it becomes stranger to society to be a Christian. To go to church on Sunday, to get up early and go there, that's silly. Why wouldn't you sleep in on that day off? And to live this way instead of just indulging in yourself. Those are things that are strange to the world, but obviously we know very good for us and very helpful to us as well. When you're talking about in Nehemiah chapter 4, not Nehemiah.
I did that too.
I think it's interesting. They're making fun and they want to attack them and prevent them from building the wall. And maybe you're going to mention it, but as they continue to seek God's help, it says they build with one hand and they carry a sword in the other.
Right.
When we're being attacked by the world in some ways, we can do the same thing. We can work with one hand and carry the sword in the other. Nehemiah, they had physical swords. We have the sword of God, which the New Testament calls the Bible.
It calls us to always be in our guard. I mean, if we're not trying to make our commitments, strengthen our commitments to God, to maybe our family, maybe to other things in our lives that are important to help us get to heaven, to help us build our relationships, then, we've got a problem. So we really need to, take Nehemiah's example here, and we'll look again, like when JD was saying, I'm about to mention that, in verse 13 and 14, it says, "Therefore I positioned my men behind the lower parts of the wall, at the openings, and set people according to their families with their swords and their spears and their bows. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles, to the leaders, and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord is great and awesome. and fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses. So we see as he learns of the attack, he's strengthening his walls. He's putting people behind his walls. Maybe that for us is whenever we have probably some trouble with our commitment, we build up our walls by maybe adding a family member, adding a fellow Christian to be our support system. I mean, we see here that he did that when he was trying to build these walls to position people behind them while people were attacking. So when people attack our commitment, we need to gather up with all these other Christians that we know, maybe even, maybe our preachers or our close friends, and that way we have a support system to help hold up our walls, continue to build those walls. JD, do you have anything to add maybe to that, or?
Well, it sounds pretty good.
Okay, we'll keep going with that. So in chapter 6, we see that after he has gone through all these things, he said Nehemiah deals with some oppression. There were people who were trying to conspire against Nehemiah, try to trick him up throughout this whole process. But that's life. Things are always going to happen to where, we're going to get people are going to conspire against us, maybe to trip us up. Because it always seems that Christians are the ones that take the most downfall, because people are just waiting for you to slip up, waiting for you to mess up. But
under the microscope, right?
Right. I mean, we can't do anything wrong, or someone's going to come in and just say, "Uh-oh," quick to point the finger.
Right.
So Nehemiah rises up against that, and we see in verse 15 of chapter 6. So the wall was finished on the 25th day of Elah in 52 days. And in verse 16, and it happened when all of our enemies heard of this, and all of the nations around us saw these things, that they were very disheartened in their own eyes, for they perceived that the work was done by our God. So whenever we end up building our walls, maybe getting that one commitment, we've built our walls, we've fortified at our fort, and we've decided that God is going to be number one in our lives. We're not having any trouble with that commitment. Nehemiah did this, and it paid off because his enemies ran away.
So commitment is about keeping on.
Exactly.
Especially when times are tough. That's what Nehemiah did, and they built this wall in record time, right? 52 days amidst tribulation and attack and all kinds of stuff. And like Andrew said, I think when we're attacked in the world, if we'll just keep on, that's what the definition of commitment, then we will be successful too. We'll be rewarded, and things will work out all right.
Well, maybe we need to tell keep on keeping on to TDOT and I-65. If they could build that road, in 52 days,
That would be nice.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
They need to take a page from Nehemiah, don't they? Well, this is our offering today. We hope that you enjoyed this little study. Nehemiah is a great story from the Bible, a great example and motivation to us. I believe that, Andrew, you got a couple announcements you need to share?
Really, I guess a couple. This weekend, we're taking the kids to CYC in Gatlinburg, so any of the kids watching, maybe, I don't know, but wish the kids luck. Wish us luck with it also. But it'll be a great weekend. We're very excited about that. And also, I've heard in the years past that we've had a youth committee before, and I would actually like to start one of those back up to maybe get some of the parents involved, since we're wanting to take more of a youth and family approach. Maybe have on this committee, some adults, but also maybe rotate in and out some teenagers to kind of work together. That way we can plan our future. And I would really like for maybe some of you to approach me if you have any questions. There will be a meeting in the near future. I haven't exactly put a date on that yet, but I think it would be great for the future of our church work here.
That's awesome. So CYC, we're leaving at 2 o'clock this Friday. Make sure that you're here ready to go if you're going with us. And be thinking about the youth committee, if you'd like to be a part of that, how you could be a part of that. Andrew's doing great work here and just doing a great job. I'm very proud of him. And I hope that you will lend him your support and work hard as we help to develop the faith of our young people and strengthen that. Well, that's what we've got here at This Week at Lebanon Road. Have a good day. Thank you very much.